I'm Norm Eisen. I'm the founder and board member of State Democracy Defenders. I'm pleased to be joined today by my dear friend. We've been talking about the need to fight dictators together for over 30 years. Jamie Raskin, Congressman Jamie Raskin, former representative, GOP's, one of the GOP's greatest, Joe Walsh. I never imagined I would be as good friends with Joe Walsh when he was founding the Tea Party as I am with Jamie Raskin. Deirdre Schifeling of the ACLU and Heath, Mayo of Principles First. Actually, they're all very dear friends, but they are also dear friends of the freedoms that define American democracy. We're a cross-partisan group of individuals, lawmakers, organization heads, but we come together for one reason: the checks and balances that have made the American system the envy of the world for over 2 centuries when it comes to a government of, by, and for the people are under threat. Ever since our Constitution was written, presidential administrations have tried to increase the authority they wield. I used to work back there, so I saw it firsthand. I like to think I pushed back from within. But the recent Supreme Court decision in Trump v. US takes its place in American history as one of the worst in our nation's long story, because it unleashes the residents of that building to use their awesome sweeping powers without regard for law and to act as tyrants able to attack the freedoms that define us as a nation. It's even more concerning given our current political landscape, where there is a creep towards autocracy. One that, whatever your orientation, liberal, centrist, conservative, is contrary to genuine American values. Just 4 years ago, this past June, former President Trump forcibly removed peaceful protesters just a few feet from where we're standing for his infamous walk to St. John's Church over there. This was not a one-off. Trump has proclaimed that he would be a dictator on day one. These authoritarian tendencies, unfortunately not limited to him, are mixed with the enabling that is happening from the current MAGA-dominated Supreme Court. So today, we're presenting our response, a cross-partisan effort to build support to protect the checks and balances that guard each and every one of our freedoms and that of over hundreds of millions of Americans from coast to coast. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my dear friend, old friend, and a dear friend, one of the best we have of American democracy, Congressman Jamie Raskin. Congressman.
Thank you, Ambassador Norman Eisen, for launching this effort. You know, there's a reason that Congress is in Article 1 of the Constitution. And if you read the Constitution, you'll find Article 1 is really long. It's got tons of powers in there, leading all the way up to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18, and all other powers necessary and proper for the execution of the foregoing powers. And if you look at Article 2, the presidency, it's 4 short paragraphs, and one of them is about how you impeach a president who's engaged in treason, bribery, and other high crimes and misdemeanors. So it is up to Congress, the representative branch of the people, to defend the constitutional order against presidents who would trample the freedoms of the people. This declaration is about protecting the freedoms of the people by closing statutory loopholes that could allow a president to exploit the executive power to trample constitutional freedom and liberty. It's got 5 main pillars to it. 1, limiting the president's power to declare bogus domestic and foreign emergencies, to seize power and bypass congressional authority. 2, restricting the president's ability to use the Insurrection Act to deploy the military domestically against the people. 3, preventing the adoption of partisan, personal, and ideological loyalty tests, loyalty oaths, and similar authoritarian measures designed to purge the professional civil service and replace qualified workers with unqualified party loyalists and sycophants. 4, ensuring that presidents who abuse their powers to commit crimes can be prosecuted like all other citizens, because no one is above the law in America. And those of us who aspire and attain to public office are nothing but the servants of the people. And the moment someone begins to act not like a servant of the people, but like a master or ruler of the people, that is the moment to evict, eject, reject, investigate, impeach, convict, and start all over again. And 5th, constraining the president's ability to use investigative and prosecutorial decisions and resources to pursue personal political vendettas against disfavored groups and perceived enemies of the president. These are all things that Congress can do, exercising our Article 1 power to close loopholes that can be exploited by a runaway president. So I'm delighted to be joined by former Congressman Joe Walsh in this effort, and I thank you for coming.
Thank you, Congressman Raskin. Ambassador Norm Eisen, where are you, Norm?
Over here.
There he is. State Democracy Defenders Action, the ACLU, Heath, and Principles First. Look, we're here this morning because, and this isn't easy to say, we're at a point where the American people need to be protected against a president who would be a king, who would be a dictator. In the 248-year-old history of this country, we're here right now. We're at this place. Our founders would not recognize the executive branch today. More importantly, our founding fathers would be appalled by and frightened by the power and the authority that the executive, the president today has. Congressman Raskin's right. This was never, ever the intention. Norm's right. It's taken a number of administrations for us to get here. But this is a scary, scary place and a scary time in our history. We need to get back to what our founders envisioned. A president who was restrained, a president, not a dictator. A president who was restrained. A Congress that made certain a president was restrained. We got to get back to a country where the rule of law, the Constitution, and a limited executive held the day. Final point. Congressman Jamie Raskin, who I've become a humongous fan of, and former Tea Party Republican Congressman Joe Walsh, on paper, may not have a lot in common when it comes to a lot of policy. But we're locked in arms right now because this is our threat. We're locked in arms right now because we have somebody running for president who has promised to be a dictator. But this No Dictators Declaration should be something that every member of Congress, Republican and Democrat, should sign. This is a bipartisan effort. Every member of the House and every member of the Senate should easily sign and pledge that they we will not have a dictator as president. This is a bipartisan effort. Our focus should be getting every member of Congress to sign it, this pledge, and this is just the beginning. And we need to get the American people to demand that their member of Congress, their congressman, their congresswoman, their senator signs this pledge. This is bipartisan. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
I'm Deirdre Schifeling. I am the Chief Political and Advocacy Officer for the ACLU, and it's an honor to be here with these amazing champions of democracy, all of them. The ACLU believes we are living through a critical moment, a critical test for our democracy. This moment requires all of us to stand up to protect our right to speak truth to power and safeguard our fundamental democracy. As you heard, our country was founded on, and our Constitution requires, a system of checks and balances, a place where no one president, regardless of party, can undermine our freedoms. We don't have kings and queens in America, and we don't want them. Yet in recent years, our rights and freedoms have increasingly come under attack as some politicians try to use their offices to investigate their political opponents, silence journalists who try to hold them accountable, and spy on movements protesting them. So today's launch is a rallying cry for all of us who believe that government needs to serve the people, not the president. This pledge highlights one step that Congress must immediately take to protect our foundational freedoms. Our leaders must close loopholes that could allow any president to use their vast executive powers to clamp down on our constitutional rights. These threats are real, not hypothetical. This election cycle, we are already seeing an increase in state actors using their power to silence people based on their political beliefs. In Ohio, a sheriff targeted residents who had yard signs for a presidential candidate, suggesting that they should keep a list, he should keep a list of who was supporting that presidential candidate. In Florida, the governor is sending state law enforcement to knock on the doors of residents who signed a reproductive rights ballot petition to intimidate them. This is happening now. This is happening in our country now. Well, we've seen these types of actions before. We cannot let them become the norm. That's why this pledge is so important. And that's why today we are sending a clear reminder to our leaders that our country was founded for we the people, not you the president. This is a declaration, no blank checks for presidents, not from any party, especially from those who think that they are above the law. Part of the strength of America is the freedom we all have to disagree with the government without fear of reprisal. This pledge helps safeguard that freedom. This shouldn't be a partisan issue. Everyone should be in favor of closing loopholes in our laws that could be exploited by a president to take away our rights and freedoms. A more accountable presidency is good for all of us. At a time when the public's trust in our government is at a historic low, our leaders have an opportunity to show that they will defend all of our constitutional rights, regardless of political affiliation. As a longtime champion of the First Amendment and defender of the Constitution, the ACLU is proud to be part of this bipartisan effort to secure a declaration from our leaders that they will do what is needed to keep our freedoms free, even if it means reining in a president of their own party. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Norm, Joe, and the whole crew here. I'll be brief. My name's Heath, Mayo. I'm with Principles First. We are a group of grassroots, principled conservatives around the country concerned about the direction of the Republican Party and the conservative movement over these last few years. And I'm thrilled to be here today in support of this No Dictators Declaration because I think it is consistent with conservative principles that a lot of grassroots conservatives rightly understood would celebrate and support. I mean, conservatives, Joe was up here with the Tea Party. I think in essence a through line for conservative thought in the United States is that our government should be one that is limited. That the government can't just do whatever it wants to, that it has to remain responsible to the people, particularly our elected officials that we send to Washington. They need to be responsive to those who elect them and send them there. And this No Dictators pledge says exactly that. That the people that we send to Washington do not have a blank check to do whatever they would like, but that ultimately they have to be responsive to the voters who send them there. So the "Don't Tread on Me" ethos, I think, is consistent with what is in this No Dictators Declaration. That's why we're thrilled to be here today, and I think a lot of conservatives, if they were to read what is in this pledge, and I think if members of Congress, conservative members of Congress, would read what was in this pledge instead of just going on TV and talking all the time, they would understand that these are the kinds of things that all Americans support, and they're actually popular when you go and talk to Americans in their communities. They don't want dictators. They don't want presidents unilaterally increasing tariffs by 100%. They want to rein in government authority and make sure that elected officials are only doing what the Constitution allows them to do. So I'm thrilled to be here today, and I hope members of Congress will take this seriously. Will read it, look at what we're asking them to put first, these principles that we want them to put first, and make good on their commitments to the Constitution and the American people. Thank you. Norma.
Yes. For you. Thank you, Heath. Thank you, Deirdre, Joe, Jamie, Congressman Raskin. It's more important than ever that we do everything we can as lawmakers, as leaders, but with that most holy title of all, Americans, to protect our democracy and our freedoms and that of all of our countrymen and women. Every member of Congress is elected by the people, as Congressman Raskin and Congressman Walsh were. Slightly different bases that the two of them were elected by, but all Americans. We hope that all of the members of Congress and all of the American people will support the No Dictators Declaration and its core principles. Our cross-partisan coalition that we've assembled today explains that this is the core, these ideas, the core of what has truly made America great. We hope that in a little over 40 days, when voters across this country go to the polls for Election Day, and many of them are starting to vote already, express their choice for candidates, they know which ones put our democracy and freedoms first and which ones do not. Nothing could be more important than that. Thank you for joining us.